possibly going back to the finals this year? Might be looking like it. This season, so far, yeah, it's been an interesting one. Lots to get to. Lots to get to.
Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, about now, about now, about now.
What is popping, y'all? It's your man, Cloudboy Bales. Welcome to another episode of Wisco Sports Weekly, where today we're going to be discussing players and what grade I think I'm going to give them on the season. It's been a very interesting season so far for the Bucks. Right now, we are currently second in the East, a half game behind the Celtics, with a record of 41-17, if I'm correct. I think that's the record. That is fantastic. Giannis is right now in the MVP conversation because technically he is one of the best in the league. This has been a very interesting year. Bucks are they look like a team that does have a shot at another finals. It's looking like it, and I think that we have right now the squad that can really take us and bring us another championship in Milwaukee. It's going to be tough because, well, for one, Boston is really good this year too. And there's lots of other teams that are, really making it big. I mean, this was a great trade deadline. Also, we got Jay Crowder, so that's great. But honestly, I'm excited because these guys that are on our team right now can really showcase that we legit had a chance. We really do. So I'm excited. I hopefully think that you are too. So without further ado, let's get down to business. So if you like what you see, comment below, subscribe with your thoughts, and here are my player grades. So I'm not going to count the players that were involved in trades because they hardly played at all this season. And our two-way players, I just feel like it'd be unfair. They hardly play either, as well as Thanasis as well. So, of course, I'm going to be fair because a lot of those players that aren't obviously going to go over did miss some game time this season. So, but obviously I'm going to give my honest opinion on how I think people did this season. So, let's get down to business. So, starting things off, we have Bobby Portis. He's looking like a Sixth Man of the Year candidate. Our backup big man is averaging 14 points and 10 rebounds. Man is looking, let's just say, dominant. I mean, I'm excited to see more from him. And when he comes back from his injury, man, he is going to dominate. Bobby, man, he is really he's really improved. Now, obviously, I think he averaged 15 last season, but that's because he did start for most of the year. So, of course, Bobby coming off the bench now, and he's actually averaging a double-double, really does say, I think he should be up for Sixth Man of the Year. I think he deserves a lot more respect. That's given. Averaging a double-double coming off the bench is something that really doesn't happen much. So, that deserves recognition in itself. So, yeah. Alright, I'll give him a B+. I think he's been doing a real good job so far this season. Next up, Brook Lopez. Man, you know what? I think he should be up for Defensive Player of the Year. I really do. I mean, averaging 14 points a game, averaging 2.5 blocks a game. Yeah, that means you're basically blocking a lot of people in a game. That's a lot. I mean, that's insane. That's just absolutely insane. I mean, how can you not sit there and not say that deserves absolute recognition for Defensive Player of the Year? Now, right now, I say it's probably going to be Jaren Jackson Jr., but Brook Lopez definitely deserves to be in the top 3. There's no consideration about that. He's dominating right now, and I think that's what's really important. With that, I think I'm going to give him an A-, just because, there's he still lacks the speed sometimes, but we all know he can be a little tiny bit of a liability, but he's definitely putting up Defensive Player of the Year numbers this year. All right, next up, Grayson Allen. This was a guy I kind of wanted traded at the end of last season because him not showing up at all in that Boston series really showed. I think that's what we're going to obviously have to see later in the playoffs, because I think they got Jay Crowder for that reason, knowing that he has that playoff ability and defensive ability that Grayson did not show up with in the playoffs. But he's having a good season, averaging 10 points, starting at shooting guard. He's actually doing good. He's actually had a couple clutch moments, hit a bunch of go-ahead baskets in some games this year, and I think showing that he really has improved. I'm not saying that he's going to definitely show up in the playoffs, but I definitely am happy that he's doing a good job for his role. I mean, he's having the same role as he has last year, but I think he's doing a lot better this year now that he knows his role and feels a little more comfortable. So with that, I'm going to say I'll give Grayson a B. I think Grayson's doing a good enough job. I want to see more, but I'm not expecting the most from him, so that's all I'm going to say on that. Next up, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yeah, I'm not really going to say much on this. Averaging, I think, 31 points per game and 10 rebounds and 5 assists or something like that. You know what? No matter what he does, he's always going to be the MVP. A+, let's move on. All right, Jevon Carter. Talk about the most improved player. When we traded for him, did we sign him or did we trade for him? I can't remember, but when we got him, I was like, this is a great backup point guard role. Now, because of the Chris Middleton injury, we actually started the year with Jevon Carter starting games, and boy, he really actually stepped up. He's been in the league for a little while now, but he is probably a dominant backup point guard. Now, I'm hearing rumors that we might upgrade to John Wall, but I don't really know if that should be a good idea because, one, Jevon Carter is phenomenal at defense. Also, he can shoot the three. He can basically do a lot of things that you really want in your guard. He's someone that I think you can't really get rid of. He is an exact definition of a true backup point guard. He can actually do everything. And even in games where he started, he's actually dominated and had some outstanding games. So, I think, you know what, I'm going to give him a B+, only because he's doing way better than I even thought he was going to do. So, that's one thing to say. Next up, Joe Ingles. Now, of course, he barely played this season. He's still recovering from an injury. But, you know what, I feel like this is the only year we're ever going to see him because he might be done with the NBA next year. I mean, we just signed him as some veteran guy that can play defense and shoot, and yeah, we're seeing that from him, but you can tell he's quite fully not himself, and he's a lot older now, so pretty much, I'm just going to be honest. I mean, I'll give him a B-, only because, I'm just going to be fair, right in the middle. I think that's where I put Joe Ingles. That's how I see it. All right, next up, Chris Middleton. You know, I get it. He's averaging, a career low because, yes, he's coming off the bench now and not doing as much. I don't think he has hit a 20-point game yet, maybe this year. But, yeah, I mean, he hasn't done as much yet. I think we're waiting to see that from him yet this year. But, of course, when you're coming off an injury, it's going to be tough. I give him credit. He's starting to look like himself. And, personally, keep him coming off the bench. I think you should make Middleton a six-man. I want the Bucks to start Lopez, Giannis, Crowder, Allen, and Holiday, and have Portis and Middleton and Connaughton come off the bench. That's all I'm gonna say. Imagine that lineup. That would definitely shake up a lot of people in the lineups and stuff. I would keep Middleton coming off the bench. I know that people are gonna probably be like, "You're an idiot for saying this," but I think continue having him come off the bench. He could be a dominant player from off that. I'm just going to put this out there. But Middleton, I'll give him a B- only because, yes, he hardly has played, but I think, let's hope we see more of him. Okay, next up, there's barely any players I gotta go over. Next up, Jrue Holiday. Man, the fact that he's an all-star this season really shows how great of a player he is. I think averaging just under 20 points a game. We know how good his defense is. We know how great his passing is. We know how good he can do everything. Pretty much the Bucks would be nothing without Jrue Holiday. He is the signal caller. He is the dominant force. He has just been outstanding this season. And where would we be without Jrue Holiday? I have no idea. That trade will go down as one of the best in history. Without further ado, I think he's having his best year so far in Bucks history. Glad to see him get his respect and go to the All-Star game this season. And without further ado, I'm going to say Jrue Holiday. I'll give him an A. I mean, he's doing exactly what you need him to do for the number 2 player. Great season. Hopefully we see more from him later on. Next up, MarJon Beauchamp. Our rookie obviously did not see as much, but in the games that he plays, he is showing some flashiness. He is showing some ability. He can shoot, he can do some stuff, but he's missing a lot of stuff, and I get it. He's only a rookie. Give him some time. He's going to turn himself around. With that being said, I'll give him a C, but I can't wait to see what he does in the future. He looks like he's going to be a star, and it's just very exciting to see what happens in the future. All right, next up, Pat Connaughton. He missed the first 3 weeks, but is not having the season that he had last year. Last year, he averaged, I think, 10 off the bench. This year, I think he's already averaging like 8 points a game, and I get that. I think he's, I wasn't going to expect him to do as much, but, he's not doing as much this year as he did before. And I know that we've seen him do some more, but I feel like it's kind of typical. I feel like we could see more Connaughton doing stuff, but for some reason he's just been kind of disappointing. I'm not going to say the least. I'm going to give him a C+ because I really want to see more from him, but maybe it's just because everyone is so well balanced on this team that Connaughton doesn't really receive the chances as we have before. So that's all I got to say. And then finally, Wes Matthews. Of course, obviously the longtime veteran. Wes, man, he can be a dominant player for sure. But, defense, he doesn't really show much offense anymore, of course, with age. But with defense, he still has it. He's still a veteran. It's great to see him that he's still with the team. And without further ado, I'm going to say, I'll just give him a B-. I'm not going to be too harsh on him because he's very old now. But obviously he's one of the best to ever do it for Marquette, and for sure, being a homeboy Wisconsin guy, I feel like it's great to see him end his career with the Bucks. I think that's obviously what's super important, so I'll give him the B-. So those are my player grades. If you like what you see, subscribe below, comment with your thoughts, and as always, more is to come later. Obviously, lots of Packer news will be obviously coming probably soon, so stay tuned on that. And I'll be covering a lot more Brewers because the spring training starts soon, so it'll be interesting. Same thing with March Madness, only 3 weeks away until Selection Sunday, so let's stay tuned for that. So anyways, if you like what you see, comment below, subscribe, and let's go Bucks. We'll see you next time.